report from IDC says that businesses spent $307 billion last year implementing AI to, grow their business and stuff, which is incredible until you find out about this other report that MIT did where they discovered that 95% ended up in total failure. And that difference, that huge gap between the amount of money that's being spent and the tiny amount of people that can actually get results and make the AI work is easily one of the biggest opportunities that I've ever seen in the 26 years that I've been in business. And don't worry, I'm not going to try to tell you that you should sell AI stuff to businesses or tell you should sell chatbots to dentists or anything like that. This is not one of those videos. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Those are perfectly viable. But this is much bigger. As a matter of fact, it doesn't matter if you do business stuff at all. You can use this in your own business like I did. I'll show you how I did it in a second. But I just built some stuff personally for my own business that saved me 44 grand. There's another study from this company called Cloud Zero that shows that more than half of regular businesses, businesses with under 10 employees or whatever, more than half of those businesses are already spending 10 grand a year on AI stuff, and 58% of those guys plan to increase their budget by $5,000 or more in the next year or so. The demand is crazy. Businesses want this stuff. They're spending money, but they can't find anyone who's any good. And again, just to be super clear, this has nothing to do with me trying to tell you to start an AI agency or sell AI services. I just want to show you what a big deal this is. I really use it as a way to illustrate how valuable the skill is, because people are spending a freaking ton of money, but things don't work, So the first thing we got to really figure out is, okay, what's going on? Why are things breaking? And what they found in the MIT study was there's this thing they're calling the learning gap, which is a fancy way of saying that basically the AI tools people made were pretty much dumb. Not the people themselves, but the tools, they just didn't work right. And this is across, $307 billion worth of experiments. It wasn't just a couple of dudes, It wouldn't remember what it was doing. And if you even made the tiniest little change to it, it would go completely off the rails. And it was so bad that when they would try to course correct and, be like, oh no, dude, don't do that. And they would try to make the AI work. Trying to fix the mistakes that the AI was doing ended up costing more money and taking up more time than if they just hired a person to do it normally to begin with. So you gotta wonder, what the hell is going on? Because if you do the math, 95% failure rate means that there's $291 billion that was just lit on fire metaphorically, So does this mean AI is bad and it all sucks or something like that? And of course the answer is no, thankfully. That's not what it means. Here's what I think's going on just based on experience. Those 8 zillion videos you've seen that are hey, start an AI agency or whatever. They're not necessarily bad or wrong or anything, but the training and the focus is on how to get sales basically and how to just, get the money. But there's very little focus on what's important, which is to actually make stuff work, how do you figure out exactly what the AI is supposed to do? And then how do you know how to make it do that stuff every single time? It's kind of metaphorically, the stuff that's going on over here is basically, you're learning how to sell martial arts training, but they're not teaching you how to actually fight. That's a weird metaphor, but you get what I mean, So of course, that's going to end up becoming a problem, But what's really freaking awesome and kind of crazy is we put this part aside for a minute and we focus on this 5%. This little 5% right here, they are absolutely freaking crushing it. So there's this company, maybe it's 2 companies, it's FullView and IDC. They did this research and they studied, okay, what's going on with the people who are making AI work and actually getting results? And they're getting anywhere from $3.70 back for every dollar they invest in AI, all the way up to $10.30 back for every dollar they invest in AI, which is unbelievably cool. Some businesses have reported an 80% revenue growth. Then there's businesses like mine where, naturally I actually do sell an AI tool to businesses that they like very much, thankfully. But even if I didn't, I did those couple of little projects that just saved me $44,000 a year in expenses because I was able to not have to pay for tracking software and I didn't have to hire anyone for customer service. So we've got this 95, percent death spiral going on over here. And then we have the 5% that's working is like really working. And the difference is the 5% was built by people who have the skill that I want to show you. So let's get into what the skill is and how it works. All right, so let's assume that you don't care about selling AI stuff to businesses, which is fine because this skill is still totally valuable for you to have based on my own personal experience. So over the past little bit, I've built this one little thingy that totally solved this nightmare customer support problem that was like eating up a ton of hours and focus and just not being fun at all. And because I solved that problem using AI, I don't have to pay anyone to do it and I don't have to waste all that time. And then I was able to cut off $2,000 a month worth of tracking software that I no longer needed because now I have custom analytics that tracks everything for me, all my sales, where my traffic is coming from and everything. I was able to build that. And then I was even able to build a content system that writes content for me based on stuff that actually worked because my little analytics thingy was able to go and find out the days that got the most sales from content marketing and then compare those days to the actual content and then be like, okay, let's just write more of that stuff that worked. And so I'm just one dude that's 53 years old, literally brain damaged from Macon, Georgia. And I was able to do all of this. I have a software company. It's called oJoy.ai. Helps people write good. Write good is proper grammar. Anyway, it's awesome. People like it. The problem is we have this support email that's like available to the public. So we are getting just a gazillion emails, not literally, but like tons of emails from random people, spam, but spam that is not obviously spam. So you think you have to reply to it. And all of these emails were going into our support system. We use Freshdesk. So, every day we have to go into Freshdesk and wade through like 30 or 50 tickets. And it ends up that only, 2 or 3 of those tickets were from actual customers and the rest were just random people. So all of that totally sucked. Just source of anxiety, stress, no bueno. And what I was able to build, and therefore, not only buy my time back, but also not have to hire and even worse, manage somebody to deal with this, is this little super simple solution, which is, all right, AI looks for an email to come in, and then it looks to see if that person is in our customer database. And if they are, then they get a direct response. And they're like, hey, the email address you just emailed us at as our help email, the public has access to it. We get tons of crap coming in there. Here are some things that you're probably looking for help with. If you need me, here's my personal email address for support. Yeah, I do personally handle my customer service for oJoy because we only have like 2 or 3 actual customer service requests per day, and I want to know what they are so I can continuously improve the product and know where people need help. But the other side of this is if the person was not on our customer database, then 95% of the time, there were like random people trying to pitch me on whatever. So instead of them being able to actually talk to someone, they get a different response. And it's like, hey, you're not one of our customers. We don't know you. If you need to actually talk to us, then go fill out a form, and that form now gets submitted into our help desk. And just doing that one simple thing ended up like before, it's probably 2 or 3 hours dealing with this because you had to like open up the ticket in the help desk and all this crap. It sucked. So that was awful. And after like seriously 1 or 2 actual customer support requests per day for a company that's got thousands of users actively using it, and I'm able to personally interact with my customers without having to wade through that stuff. So not only am I saving a bunch of money and saving time, but I'm also having happier customers, which is way cool. And because I'm getting to interact with these customers personally, I get better insight into what my customers and users really want and really need. The second thing I built is this customer analytics system. So I think the best tracking system on the planet is Hyros. And Hyros is pretty dang expensive, especially if you're doing a lot of volume. So I used to pay $2,000 a month, I think, pretty sure, $2,000 a month for Hyros. Worth it. And I would have used it with oJoy, really. The problem was, like, the way our system's set up is really complicated and does all this weird, like, automatic OAuth stuff through Google and everything. I don't know, it's harder to track that way. So I had to build my own version. And this thing totally does exactly what the best tracking system on the planet does, except I don't have to pay that money every month. And I was able to customize everything for exactly what I wanted. So I'm able to split test my pages. If I show all the data on the screenshots, it'll show people's like email addresses and stuff. So that's why I've got it blurred out. And I'm even able to like show exactly what somebody's customer journey was. So I know like where did they come from first before they turned into a customer. If we look at this one right here, this person went to the website in some capacity 60 times before they finally bought. So I'm filming this for you in February of 2026. And my man here first visited my site from a Facebook post on September 16th of last year. And it took him 60 times to finally convert. So you don't really get that data from anything unless you're building stuff specifically for what you want. And what's really cool is because I was able to, have this and build it, I was also able to take what I was learning from the custom tracking thingy and have this system, which is, let's see, turn on my little pen thingy. So I had that thing made, and then I had this little system created where it looked at the last 90 days of customers, and it like got the average of customers who came from organic traffic sources, like typing in the domain name and searching for it in Google. The reason this was important is because all of the marketing for my software company is just content, like YouTube videos and social media posts and stuff. We don't really run real ads. So it's kind of harder to track, So we were able to be like, okay, what's the average daily amount of customers coming from organic? And then it was able to isolate days where we got more sales than usual. And then it went and I gave it all of my social media posts for that same time frame. Then it was able to look at the social posts and compare them with the days where stuff did good, to use proper grammar, and then find out exactly what content was working. And then, of course, I was able to use AI to build a system that just writes more content like the stuff that worked. And that eliminates the need to have to think about it, and then also eliminates the creation and posting of stuff that doesn't move the needle. Anyway, the point of all of this is it's the same skill every single time. It doesn't matter if you're building, a thing to handle your customer service and make life easier. It doesn't matter if you're building something that's figures out which pieces of organic content actually bring you sales, or if you're building a custom analytics platform, if you're building a content creation thing, it's all the same. And once you learn the skill, you can pretty much do anything. It doesn't matter if you want to sell it to businesses or not, or if you just want to use it yourself and, save money and hopefully use it to make more sales. Either way, same skill. So what is it? What is this mysterious capability that these 5% actually know that the 95% don't know? Well, it's not prompting. Everyone thinks that's a big deal. I mean, it's not a little deal, but it's not, magic or anything. And it's not the tools. It doesn't matter if you're using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, Gemini. All of them are awesome. And they're all, just tools. The real skill is knowing exactly how to, first of all, figure out what you want to happen, and then getting AI to train itself on building that thing for you. So you're really more of an architect. You're directing AI instead of, doing the manual labor in it. And because of that, I consider this not to really be a technical skill at all. It's more like a thinking skill. And here's what I mean. So, for example, most folks, maybe you've done it too. This is how I started. Like when I first tried to build my analytics thing, it took something like 8 billion hours and it never did work right because I went to Claude and it was like, hey, make me a custom analytics program. And then I just like started, going down the rabbit hole and stuff. And it never did work right. Not until I learned this skill did I actually make one that works. So most people will just go to AI. It doesn't matter what AI it is. We're like, make this thing. And then it's like, okay. And then, you end up with something that's horrible. Whereas the other side of the coin is more like, literally like being an architect. You're basically working backwards. And here's the process for the skill. So you go to AI, pick one. Doesn't really matter. My favorite's Anthropic, Claude, love it, huge fan. But you go to it, and instead of saying like, hey, do this, you define the outcome. So you go to AI and you're like, hey, I've got this problem. And then AI will tell you, it'll be like, all right, man, well, here's what you're supposed to do. And the third step here, this is really important, is to get AI to interview you. In fact, like you could even get AI to interview you here. So, however you want to get the desired outcome out of your mind and on paper, so to speak, it's fine. Ask AI to give you like a step-by-step instructions. Don't tell it to build anything. It's like, all right, here's exactly what you need to do step by step. And then I asked it to interview me about my tech stack because it needs to know, like, is the email on Gmail and where is my database, stored and how is it going to connect to the database and know who's a customer and who's not and yada, yada, yada. So I was like, all right, man, I got to tell you about my tech stack, but I don't really know what I don't know. So will you ask me about anything that might be relevant to what we're doing here so I can give you the good answers? And it does, So I was able to say, oh yeah, I'm using high level and the support email is on Google Cloud using their workspace thingy, which I already forgot. See, this is why you get AI to interview you about that kind of stuff. And then once it's done, you're like, okay, now that you know all of this, give me a custom plan and tell me exactly what to do at every single little step of the game here. Don't do it yet. Just give me the plan, exactly how to do it, like, obnoxious detail. And what we're doing here, the difference between this step and step 2 is that it's including all the tech stuff, So it's like, okay, well, here's everything you got to do. So, all right, sweet. And this 5th step is, in my opinion, the magic. And this is where you get AI to teach itself to do all of the work, because AI is like smarter than us about a lot of things. It's kind of like a drunk toddler with an IQ of 1 billion. Like it can do anything, but it really needs a lot of guidance. So in this case, I'll give you an example. It needed to connect a G Suite email address. It needed to go in there, and when a new message came in, it needed to identify the message, and then it needed to go and talk to a high level, which is where I have all my database and stuff, and look and see if that person was a customer or if they were on my list or whatever. Well, instead of just saying like, okay, do that, I was like, okay, here's the instructions you gave me for doing that one little part. Now I want you to learn how to write prompts perfectly and then write a prompt for doing that exactly. And I just had it do that little process for every little step in here because, I'm not doing it. It's not like you have to do 9 billion step 5. You just kind of give it the list and it handles it if you do it right. And then now you've got like this unbelievably detailed blueprint. And it's like a step-by-step prompts and everything. The prompts were created by AI, not you. And so you now have this multi-step process and you're just like, okay, here's the entire plan. Here are all of the prompts that are perfect because AI wrote them, based on its own training for how to write the prompts and stuff. And then you get it to build it. And the little secret that I found is that you also include a little bit of instructions in there where you have AI document everything that it did. And this is super cool because, once you do one thing, you can refer to exactly how it did that one thing. And if you want to make another version, like I actually need to make another version of this for another email address of mine, I can now just be like, okay, here's what we did last time, read through it, and see if this is what we need to do this time. So now everything becomes repeatable. It's pretty sweet. And this is a big deal. I hopefully can make this super clear without being overly dramatic or whatever. This skill is like simple as all that sounded. I don't know why, but people just don't do it. And I'm kind of glad they don't do it because it gives us a little bit of an unfair advantage, I think. But the overwhelming majority of people just don't use AI that way. They're just like, make me a thing that does this. And then it doesn't really have a lot of guidance. So the bar for actually being able to make AI do stuff is a lot lower than you might realize. You don't have to know how to do code. You have to know how to ask AI to teach itself how to do the code that is needed. And you don't even have to know what any of that stuff means. You can be like, okay, great, now do that. And basically, all I do is I ask it questions, and then I get it to ask me questions, and I get it to train itself on how to do everything. If you figure out how to do that and you do it well and you do it consistently, number one, you can do a lot of cool stuff for yourself. It's super fun. It's like you have this superpower, which is a really good time. But then there's this unbelievable opportunity in the event that you care about taking advantage of it. And it doesn't matter if you're selling it to people or you're using it in your own business. Either way, you're coming out ahead because it's thinking. Which is a really weird thing to say, like all of this buildup. It's literally about just thinking, not all the stuff that we're seeing on YouTube with like, here's 8 billion prompts, which a lot of that stuff is valuable. But at the end of the day, it's really just thinking. AI can do everything. All we have to do is be able to think properly so we can guide it and control it. When you have that ability, then you can pretty much build anything. Probably couldn't build a spaceship. Like I wouldn't know how to do that. But when it comes to cool business stuff or just cool stuff in general, AI can make anything and everything except a spaceship. So that's my message for you today. We're living in a golden age, if there ever has been one. And if a 53-year-old random dude from Georgia who literally has brain damage, definitely not from too much partying back in the day. Nope, not me. If someone like me can do this, then I'm pretty sure it is a learnable skill for just about anybody, as long as you got the focus and the desire to learn it. All right, I know this video is a bit of a departure from the norm, but I wanted to share this with you because it's important, and I think it will help you. So I appreciate you watching it. All right, take it easy. See you in the next one.